I apologise, Mr. President. I was absolutely amazed by that answer. Mr. President, my question is to the Minister for Employment, Senator Abetz. I refer to Hutchinson Ports Australia and the reprehensible sacking of 97 employees in 5 minutes to midnight text messages on Friday night, effective immediately. I also refer to the Minister's statement that, and I quote, "If the culture is that employees can text message the boss and they in fact expect the boss to text message them, then that may be an appropriate methodology." Does the Minister really endorse text messages as a means of terminating employment in this country?
Order. Order. The Leader of the Government in the Senate, the Minister for Employment, Senator Abetz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I thank Senator Cameron for the question. Not only was Senator Cameron asleep at the wheel when his time had commenced to ask the question, he also failed to tell the Australian people and the Senate the full quote, because where he conveniently stopped, he did that to try to, well, for whatever his political purpose might be. I continued, Mr. President, I'm not going to comment on it, other than, given whatever the culture might be, you want employees and employers to treat each other with respect and due consideration. Why could Senator Cameron not bring himself to quote that to the Australian people and indeed to the Senate? Why is it not possible for Senator Cameron ever to honestly represent that which is said by those of us on this side? Quoting half-sentences might be your game, Senator Cameron. It diminishes you, it diminishes the Labor Party, and from my perspective, Mr. President, what I have said at all times is, and I repeat again, that employers and employees should treat each other with respect and due consideration. Mr. President, I also happen to—
Senator Moore, a point of order.
Mr. President, on direct relevance to the question, it's the last part of the question was clearly, does the minister really endorse text message as a means of terminating employment? I take the point the minister has covered his situation up until this point, but with 36 seconds to go, that part of the question remains unanswered, Mr. President.
Order. Thank you, Senator Moore, for your point of order. I believe the minister was directly relevant. He was addressing the quote that was referred to by the questioner. The minister has the call. Minister.
And, Mr. President, I was about to continue to say that this matter is in fact before the Fair Work Commission. And if we want to talk about respect, I would invite Senator Cameron to say to the MUA that they should respect the interim order of the Fair Work Commission. It would be interesting to see if Senator Cameron would support that.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Cameron, a
point of order. The question was, does the minister really endorse text messages as a means of terminating employment in this country? He hasn't gone to that question. He should answer the question.
Well, Senator Cameron, I've already ruled on that point of order. I believe the minister has now concluded his answer, but in any event, the minister directly was relevant in relation to the quote that you quoted him. He completed the quote, and he indicated with his answer in completing the quote about mutual respect from employer to employee. Now, I believe he was directly relevant. Minister, am I correct? You had concluded your answer, or not?
Well, given that I do have 14 seconds, allow me very quickly to indicate to Senator Cameron that in fact the particular EBA of which we speak suggests that text messages and emails are the preferred method of communication between the boss and the workers.
Thank you, Minister. Order. On my right. On my right. Order. Senator Cameron, supplementary question.
Yeah, thank you. I'd now like to ask a supplementary. Can the minister confirm that midnight text messages and emails have replaced balaclavas and dogs as the preferred method of sacking waterfront workers?
Minister.
Mr.
Order. On my right.
Mr. President, as I understand the sorry history of Australia's waterfront over many decades, the balaclavas were in fact used by certain workers to protect themselves from being identified from retaliatory action by the MUA that has the disgraceful history of even sabotaging our World War II effort and compromising the safety and security of Australian soldiers overseas. And that has now been documented by Dr Colebatch in an excellent piece of work that I would recommend to all honourable senators. But, Mr President, let's be very clear. I have not condoned in any way, shape or form those matters to which Senator Cameron seeks to put into my mouth. I had been asked a particular question indicating that I was not aware of the circumstances, but being aware that in certain EBAs these provisions apply.
Has expired. Senator Cameron,
thank you. A further supplementary, Mr President. Given the seriousness of the Hutchinson dispute and the potential for it to disrupt Australian ports, will the Minister abandon his confrontational and partisan approach to workplace relations and instead encourage a cooperative negotiated settlement to the dispute in the national interest?
Minister.
Mr President, if the honourable senator does not want disruption on the Australian waterfront, if he doesn't want this matter to escalate further, could I invite him to ring up the Maritime Union of Australia to abide by the Fair Work Commission decision in relation to the particular picket? You know, if you have an independent umpire in this space, you've got to accept the good decisions with the bad, and you've got to accept their decisions, right, wrong or indifferent, whether you like it or not. This is Labor's system. You are quite right, Senator Cormann. Labor's Fair Work Act, Labor's Fair Work Commission, and they still complain about the decisions when they come out against their mates in the MUA. Can I simply say—
Pause the clock. Senator Cameron, a point of order.
Yeah, point of order is relevance. I asked the Minister about his confrontational, partisan approach to workplace relations, which he has now just demonstrated again.
Order. Thank you, Senator Cameron. I will remind the Minister that he has 10 seconds in which to answer the question that was asked.
Mr. President, I am so confrontational that I said that employees and employees should treat each other with respect and due
Minister.
consideration.
The time for
if that is
answering the
confrontational, so be it.
Has expired.